Hi, this is Steve Stroud. I got about a 30-minute slideshow video here about the three topics that we had talked about last time we were together, the sun, the moon, and the rising sign. And we're just going to kind of hit the highlights and some key words and phrases about these three major aspects of the astrological birth chart. Of course, here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out and always follow the ripplefoundation.org for information on classes and upcoming events. So let's jump right in. The planets, as we know, sun and moon are planets in astrology, and they represent some part of our psyche that is ripe for development in this lifetime. And it begins to put together the language that we use when we talk about astrology. The pattern that we see in astrology is presented to us from the solar system, and it correlates to those things that happen within us or on Earth. It's not a cause and effect, it's a correlation. It leans into the idea that there's the microcosm within us that reflects and correlates to the macrocosm of the universe. And the old ancient saying, as above, so below, is certainly reflected in all of what astrology does. The sun is where we're going to start. Of course, the sun is the biggest light in the solar system. The sun is named after this. The solar system's named after the sun. So it represents the sun in our solar system represents the identity of who we are, our life force, the reason that we are in creation, the ability to be alive. In astrology, it represents the same things. It's really the development of our sense of self, how we identify our sense of self, and how that development is seen. How we know what that development is seen through the signs, which we're going to go through each one. So the sun energy is our ego, our identity, our sense of self. It gives us life. It gives us vitality. It's our creative force. These are all things that the sun in the solar system does, and therefore correlates to those same aspects within us as we identify the sun in astrology and our birth chart. And of course, how all this happens is seen through the different signs. Each sign will have a unique ego manifestation, will have a unique creative life force. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Each sun sign represents a developmental goal, right? So, for example, Aries has a developmental goal of our life force. Cancer has a developmental goal of our life force, and the signs show us uniquely how that is done. And when we are doing that, when we're engaged in that, when we, in a sense, listen to the calling of the universe, or we nourish that sun energy, that's when we feel most alive. That's when we feel content. That's when we feel satisfied. When we're in a sense when we're in sync with what the universe is asking us by giving us a particular sign, sun sign in this incarnation. So let's start with Aries. Very simply, the development of courage. That's what we're developing. That's what we are tasked with, in a sense, uh, to awaken the courage to exist. Aries is the first sign. It's about initiation. It's about beginning. It's about moving forward. It's about bringing into creation. It's the identification of who we are. It's kind of like the I am here, and that all takes courage. And then throughout life, what we want to do in the Aries archetype is to uh, challenge ourselves in particular ways where we might feel fear, might be a little scared, because that deepens our development of courage. And when we do that, if you've ever done something scary and you accomplish it, you feel vital, you feel alive, you feel all this life force. And for the Aries archetype, that is essential to feel that. That is feeding it, nourishing it, and giving a sense of contentment. And each of the signs has that particular avenue. So, for example, Taurus is totally different. Taurus is the development of calm and simplicity, and developing a sense that there's value in the physical world and in the embodiment of this physical body and feeling grounded. Um, these are all things that nourish the sun energy when it's in Taurus. Simple things, grounded things, things that bring calmness. Being out in nature, for example, would be high on the list. Being in the dirt, doing things in that sense or in nature are very nourishing to the enlivening solar energy of Taurus. Gemini is all about curiosity. It's all about expanding our perception and realizing that curiosity and communication uh, enlivens our life, and it's where our consciousness expands, and it's where we feel most engaged in how we live. So being curious, information, all that stuff is critical to nourish the Gemini sun. In Cancer, it's really about nurturing. It's about emotional belonging. It's about vulnerability. There's two archetypes for Cancer. One is the mother, which is the nurturer, the sensitive one. It's sensitive to the needs of the child, and the other is the crab. And we all know, if we've ever seen a crab out by the ocean, that they're very skitterish. And you come near them and they kind of hide and pull away. Um, one reason is because underneath that shell they're very, very vulnerable, and so there's a real key here to being able to create emotional bonds uh, through being vulnerable, and that helps nourish the Cancer archetype. Leo is all about the Leo sun shines in creativity and self-expression. To um, put yourself out there in a creative way, to express yourself. It allows that if the creative energy moves through the Leo sun, person with the sun in Leo, they're going to feel alive. That's just critical. There's just, and we see a picture here of some guy performing. Virgo is focused on service. The archetype we like for Virgo is Mother Teresa. And the service is in a sense very detailed, very specific. It creates systems, and the systems are designed to move reality, which is what it is, towards the ideal or towards perfection. Um, the Virgo archetype is able to understand what could possibly be, what could possibly be perfect or ideal, but looks at reality and realizes those two aren't the same. And so creating a service or a craft or working towards bringing those two closer together is life and affirming for the Virgo archetype. And that's what Mother Teresa did with children that she worked with. Libra has a lot to do with nourishing the relationships, harmony, balance, diplomacy, um, creating beauty, peace, harmony, finding that in others and in relationships. So the Libra sun needs those aspects in their life to feel at peace and content and alive. Scorpio, on the other hand, likes to go deep. Scorpios are very intense, the most intense of all the signs. And they're intense because telling the truth is high on their list. and telling the truth and living intensely is transformational. And that transformation of life happens through going deep and by telling the truth. And so that Scorpio energy needs passion, needs intensity. Passion is such a good word, um, and that's transformative and enlivening to the Scorpio sun. Sagittarius really is all about the quest for the meaning of life. And we have here the centaur, who is a mythological figure that was out in the woods one day, traipsing around, and accidentally shot himself in the hip. Um, since he's a demigod, he can't die. So he decides to seek, travel the world, explore, um, and go on a great quest to discover the meaning of life and how to heal and how to learn from other people and cultures. So it's very nurturing to the Sagittarian energy to to explore what the meaning of life is through travel, study, philosophy, religion, higher education, things like that. Capricorn is really about creating structures, being responsible, living life with integrity. Martin Luther King Jr., of course, was a Capricorn, and his saying was, it's the time is always right to do what is right," and that encapsulates really how the Capricorn ego in its highest attributes moves through life and developing, having the ability to be disciplined and to work towards a goal where you become a master and you are responsible for how your life is and that you lean into integrity as a guidepost. The Aquarian sun is all about individuation. It's about freedom. It's about being different. It's about being unique. It's about breaking out of the box. It's in a sense in innovating yourself to be uniquely you, kind of breaking the rules. Um, so the more that the Aquarian sun person is able to do that, the more alive they're going to feel. And for the Pisces, it's really the development of the ability to dissolve our sense of self and our consciousness into something greater, to dissolve the illusion that we're separate from everything else. uh, the mystical experience, to uh, give the Piscean archetype things that will expand consciousness, meditation, spiritual teachings, a practice, rituals of religion, things like that, um, are really important and critical for the Piscean uh, ego to feel good and to feel satisfied and content. It's kind of interesting, the Piscean ego to go beyond ego, um, but to be of the in the world, but not of the world is the goal. And if we take care of the sun, we really feel a sense of contentment. It's just like if we bask in the solar energy of our sun sign, it's like sitting out in the sun on a warm spring day. We feel satisfied, we feel alive, we feel content. So that's the goal of understanding what our sun sign is. And then the moon. If you look at this picture, obviously you're going to feel something. It's impossible not to if you look at the moon, no matter what phase it's in. So the moon represents our feelings, our emotional life, our sensitivities, our intuition. The moon is part of what we carry from one life to another. In incarnation, we don't carry the intellect, we don't carry the mind, we don't carry the memory, we don't carry the physical body, but we carry the emotional imprints. And we carry some intuition that comes forward in the emotional body. The moon represents our development of the ability to feel, to have compassion, to have empathy. It represents that which needs to be healed and regenerated within us. So if we want to know how or where our healing can take place, we look at the moon, we look at the sign that it's in, and that'll tell us how that healing can occur. And then we look at the sign, and that'll tell us where that healing can occur in the aspect of nurturing and feeding the moon energy within our chart. The moon represents, the ability to be emotionally responsive. And if we take care of the moon, we get to feel happy. If we listen to what the moon is communicating to us through our birth chart, we can be happy. The moon is also the experience of the mother. The moon is the feminine archetype, of course. The sun is the father archetype. So we're just going to walk through the signs. So the moon in Aries, in order to be happy, you have to push yourself a bit. You have to go beyond what you think your limits are, and the language is going to begin to synchronize with the language that we used about the sun. But at this point, we're looking at the emotional life, right? We're not looking at enlivening sense of self, ego. What we're looking at is our emotional life. So one of the ways that we push ourselves to our limit, it takes courage to do that. And sometimes we'll feel a little bit of fear. But to be happy, you have to push yourself a bit, challenge yourself, um, be a little bit afraid, create some courage. Um, and that is enlivening for the Aries moon. Take a risk. For the Taurus moon, it's really about grounding down, being physical, feeling good in nature, feeling connected to the earth, going out in the forest, being quiet and simple. All of those things nourish the Taurus moon. If you have a Taurus moon and you're feeling rattled, go, put your hands in the dirt, take a walk in the woods. Um, that is really nourishing to the moon in Taurus. For the moon in Gemini, it's more of a mental activity. It's about, again, being curious. It's about information. It's about stimulating activities. It's about keeping the mind engaged. It's about learning about things. It's about trying to figure things out. All of those things are nourishing for the Gemini moon. The moon in Cancer is to be able to have a sanctuary and to have a family. So, and families in quotes, of course, but a sanctuary, just like the archetype of the crab, where the crab is very vulnerable and sensitive. The Cancer archetype is sensitive, and the Cancer moon is sensitive. The moon, again, is our feeling world. And so it's really critical to nourish the Cancer moon, to give yourself a place where you can kind of get away from the hustle bustle of life, from the harshness of life. Just like that crab needs a shell, the Cancer Moon archetype needs a place like a little shed here to get away to, so that they can find a sanctuary and go into themselves and regenerate themselves. And a family just represents the ability to create those emotional bonds, to feel nourishment and to give nourishment. Those are the things that are essential for a moon in Cancer. The moon in Leo is about, of course, Leo is about expression, self-expression, creative expression. And what really nourishes the Leo moon is to get recognition for that, to get applause and appreciation for that expression. That's very, very nourishing, very critical, very satisfying, and uh, for the moon in Leo. The moon in Virgo is to find something that matters. it's emotionally satisfying to do work that means something, to be of service. Similar to the Virgo sun, Virgo in general is about service, about moving the reality towards our ideal. But if we have a moon in Virgo, it's our emotional life. And to nourish that emotional life, we can do these things, find work that matters, and to be of service. The moon in Libra is about making harmonious connections. Libra is about relationships in general. Libra is about balance, harmony, peace, beauty. So to nourish the moon in Libra, did I say Leo? I meant Libra. To balance, uh, to feel balance is critical for the Libra moon, and to feel connected and at peace. So all of those attributes will support the moon in Libra. The moon in Scorpio, again, Scorpio being the the deepest, most intense of all of our uh, signs. It's the Scorpio moon needs to feel deep, needs to feel passion, needs to feel connection, um, uh, especially in primary relationships, but just in life in general. And and also the ability to go deep is not always a happy place. Life is full of ups and downs, and the Scorpio is able to deal with both ends of the spectrum in the sense that's nourishing to the Scorpio moon to understand that uh, going deep is not always fun or happy, but there's a satisfying thing that nourishes that emotional life. So you don't have to feel happy all the time to be nourishing the Scorpio moon. The moon in Sagittarius loves any experiences that expands the sense of self. Travel, foreign places, foreign things, learning, religion, philosophy, different people, foreign places. All of that is so nourishing to the Sagittarian moon. Um, so those are the things that nourish that. Capricorn, to nourish the emotional life of a Capricorn, you really want to feel that you have a worthy and compelling purpose, that there's some greater idea that can be felt, that there is meaning to what we do, and that you're in a sense willing to invest your emotional life into what it takes to have a worthy purpose. Aquarius, again, is breaking free. The Aquarius moon, the emotional life of the Aquarius, is to feel different than other people might feel, to march to the beat of a different drummer, to feel whatever you feel, whenever you feel it, wherever you feel, even though it might not make sense or look right or be what other people are feeling. To give yourself that freedom to kind of break out of that box is remarkably nourishing to the Aquarian moon. And the Pisces moon, the greater consciousness, to expand our consciousness beyond the ego sense into the greater consciousness, quiet time, classically seen in meditation, to feed the soul, to feed the greater consciousness. Doesn't have to look like meditation. There's 1,000 ways it could look. You could walk in the woods or sit by the river or listen to music or whatever, but it's just that kind of dissolving all the hustle bustle busyness of the day, um, and tuning into the emotional sensitivity, um, and in a sense the quietness that it would take to hear the sound of consciousness. So that really nourishes the Piscean moon. And now we're going to talk about the rising sign. So the rising sign is the sign right here, for example, on the cusp. The cusp is the line between each house. So this is the cusp of the first house. This is the cusp of the second house. So it's right, it's right there. So the sign on the cusp of the first house is called the rising sign. And remember, when we were born, we're sitting right here, and we look out the hospital window, and we look to the east. There's the rising sign. We look to the west. That's where the sun would be setting. We look straight up. That's where the sun would be if it was noon. And if it was midnight, the sun would be down here. But at this chart and at this point, what we're seeing here is on the cusp of the first house, and the rising sign here is Scorpio. All right. And here's another picture. So here's that, baby being born, and it looks to the east. And what does the baby see? On the horizon is Scorpio rising right at the horizon there. Sign of Scorpio. And in this picture, the sun is, setting over here. So it'd be over here if these were exactly the same chart. The sun looks like it's setting, and it would be over here if it was. But anyway, that's how it looks. You're basically just looking out the window, and oh, there's Scorpio over there. And this changes depending upon what time of day you're born. Everybody's going to have a different rising sign. So that's how we determine what the rising sign is. Here's just another picture. The rising sign is also called the ascendant. Um, these are the planets and what could be seen above the horizon. This was below the horizon. And here's again where we kind of sit on the surface of the earth. Just another symbol of it right here. The rising sign or the ascendant really reflects how we dawn on people, how we present, the first impressions that we have. I like to call the rising sign the car we drive. If you see your neighbor drive by coming up the street, you assume it's your neighbor because you recognize the car he's driving. You don't actually know who he is in a sense. You might not know him that well, so you don't know his ego, his sense of self, or his creativity. That would be his sun. You don't really know how he feels. That would be his moon. But you do know how he presents, and he presents in the rising sign. And so it's like that's his car. It's the first impression. Um, and it also is interesting. It represents the your approach to life. And let me explain that in a bit here. So here are all the signs, and here are just pretty basic keywords for each sign. So, for example, if you had Aries rising, so that would be the sign on the cusp of the first house, right? How you would initiate things, how would you begin things, how you would dawn on people, how people would first like see you, um, like the car you drive. It would be that you initiate things. You are courageous about things. You move forward. Aries is the first sign. Again, you're beginning things. So that's how you kind of create your identity, your sense of self in the I exist. First, the rising sign is kind of like, well, here's how I exist. Um, if your rising sign is Taurus, the way that you approach things and the way that you present yourself is calm and steady. Somebody, if you have Taurus, let's say you have Taurus rising, and you're outside and there's a campfire, and the flames start to get away from the fire pit and everybody's all hysterical. You say, well, let me just get this bucket of water and we'll just throw it on there and everything will be fine. That's kind of how Tauruses go about things in a calm and steady way. Geminis, the rising sign, they present as very curious people, very inquisitive people. They want to learn things. They ask a lot of questions. They have a lot of communication. Um, they like to gather information. They like to share information. That's how the Gemini rising sign presents itself. The Cancer rising sign presents itself in a very nurturing way, a very nourishing way. They might be a little shy because remember the vulnerability of the Cancer archetype and the need to sometimes, create a little sanctuary. But their overall presentation is like, how can I take care of things? How can I be of how can I help you? And their cancers are sensitive. They might know what you need. They might be nurturing just naturally, and that's how they come across. The Leo rising sign is going to come across in a creative, expressive way, in a kind of almost a performer way, in a way that says, well, here's my idea and here's my creativity, and let me express myself. Um, and this is how they begin things. This is how they come across in the rising sign, how they present. The Virgo archetype is going to come across more in a detailed way, more a bit analytical in the sense that they might be observing to analyze things, because the Virgo archetype wants to put a system in place, so to speak, to help move again reality towards the ideal. So the Virgo rising might might be just assessing the situation, and might want to be of service uh, to help create whatever's moving forward in their life. The Libras want to be harmonious. They want to be peacemakers. They want to create diplomacy and beauty and harmony. They might be artistic. They want to go about doing things in an artistic way. If there's conflict, they're the diplomats. The Libra person is going to present to the world as peaceful and calm and harmonious, and wanting to create connections between people. Right? Very diplomatic. The Scorpio, on the other hand, is presents things intensely. Um, they will bring up concepts and ideas that are deep. You're at a meeting with a bunch of people, and the Scorpio brings up the idea of how do we feed the homeless, and uh, and gets passionate about it. So Scorpio presents in a passionate, intense way, um, wanting to go deep, wanting to really get to the truth of the matter. Sagittarius is more of the adventurer, more of the explorer. It's like, well, what would this be like if we did this? And how about if we tried that approach? Or I learned something, when I was traveling in Japan, and this is what they did, and so that's how they present it. And kind of, I like to use, um, the adventurer in that Indiana Jones kind of archetype, the Sagittarian. That's how they present to the world. Capricorn is a little bit more reserved. Capricorn is a little bit more responsible, so to speak, presents with integrity, wants to do the right thing, not the easy thing, is willing to put in the hard work that it takes to build something solid, to do something great. That's how the rising sign of the Capricorn archetype presents. The Aquarian archetype comes in breaking the box. Remember, the Aquarian archetype is individuation, uniqueness, breaking the rules. So the Aquarian comes in and says, "Hey, well, let's do it this way," and then you go, "Well, we've never done it that way before." But it's bringing in new ideas, being an innovative, inventive, a little bit quirky, outside the box, and that's how the Aquarian rising sign will present to the world, and how they will begin things that they want to do. And Pisces is, more of the intuitive and the compassionate. They might just say, well, this is what feels right, or I'm sensitive and I'm just feeling into what's going on. Uh, I feel, I feel this is what's going on, and this is what I feel is going on, and things like that. And so that's how the Piscean would present, as kind of a sensitive, intuitive, compassionate type of archetype. So that was a quick rundown, but I hope that helps bring some more information. Again, the language that we're using is transmittable. So when we talk about the Aries sun, or the Aries moon, or the Aries rising sign, we are talking about a lot of the same energy. We're talking about courage. We're talking about initiating. We're talking about moving through fear. Things like that. but we're talking about different aspects of who we are. We're talking about either our sense of identity, our ego, our creative life force, that would be the sun. We're talking about our emotional life, what it would take to feel emotionally fulfilled and happy, or we're talking about our rising sign, which is how we present to the world, how we begin to move out into the world, and how we begin creative processes. So, all right. Well, I hope that's helpful. I think that's the last slide. Yes. So again, just this short slideshow on sun, moon, and rising. Please reach out if you have any questions or just want to check out what else goes on with Steve Stroud. And then, of course, please check out the ripplefoundation.org. It has all of our classes, seminars, workshops, and all of the good stuff. So, okay, thanks.